Hi all, this is Ziad Ael. We are from YASA from Lebanon. We are waiting to start just a couple of minutes. I don't know if Dr. Rafael is in order to start our meeting, our webinar.
Hello, Mr. Ziad and everyone else. Please take it away, Mr. Ziad.
Hi, Ziad.
Sorry, I am not hearing anything.
Hi, Ziad. Can you hear us?
We can hear you very clearly.
Okay. So, I hope this United Nations Week will be successful. We as YASA, as many of you knows, we have been involved with road traffic victims since our foundation. And hopefully this United Nations Week will be successful. We got a contact from Hamad University, the team there, and from Qatar, and we contacted our friend Donna Price. We know her from many years now. She was involved in the FAVR, and she's the leader of the International Road Victim Partnership. So hopefully this meeting will be successful, and we can start by Dr. Rafael, if he can start now. Then we work by the agenda, and I'll have the chance to come back during the meeting to try to do some presentation about our experience. Today we did as YASA a big event with the scouts also in the scope of Road Victim Remembrance Day. As you know, YASA, we started in 1994 in Lebanon after the death of my friend in 96 My cousin died in an accident, and this is how YASA started. And we have been involved in the United Nations Week for Road Safety since its inception. So now we give the floor to Dr. Rafael, and I'll come back at a later stage to do my intervention. Thank you all for your effort, and hopefully this webinar will be a successful milestone in advocating for the rights of road traffic victims and to promote road safety anywhere on the earth. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ziad. Welcome to everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Then we truly have a global group here, and I'm very happy and pleased to be sitting in the same panel with all of you. To complement what Dr. Ziad just said, we are sort of also a little later to the game than YASA. Of course, YASA is one of the granddaddies and the originators of this commemoration. So we bow our hats to them, and we realized before we started this process of reaching out to Dr. Ziad and his group that there's a lot for us to learn personally, although we have been doing this for almost a decade now. So we said that it would be good to exchange a little bit of knowledge, lots of wisdom and experience among all of us so that we can all make a better world of remembrance for everybody, because it's really very important that we highlight and we further publicize and commemorate this day, because let's face it, all the road victims all across the globe really deserve a day like this. And I really look forward to hearing from all of our speakers today. And I believe we've got a solid group of speakers already who are all experts and very, very experienced in their field. So without wanting to delay anything further, I'd like to actually invite to unmute himself and to start. I think it's is it Dr. Peter Fraser who's our first speaker? Please go ahead.
Yeah, hello from Sydney, Australia, or actually Springwood. We live about 80 kilometres west of Sydney, for those who know it. My background, just to give a bit of a brief, is in policy, law enforcement, compliance, and intelligence. I was brought into this space after the completely avoidable death of my beautiful daughter, Sarah Fraser, back in 2012. Her car had broken down. An emergency lane hadn't been built to specifications, and a distracted truck driver drove up and into her vehicle and to the tow truck, which was going to take her vehicle off the road. The emergency lane had been built to 1.5 metres as opposed to the 2.4 or 3 metres that it should have been. Since that time, we've then done a couple of things. We've created well, firstly, the group, Safer Australian Roads and Highways, SARA. We've also created what's now the yellow ribbon, which is the national symbol for road safety in Australia. And of course, we also did some work in South America with IRVP. It's part of their symbolism as well, or our symbolism, because I'm also a volunteer board member with IRVP with Donna. We've also created a National Road Safety Week, which we now have every jurisdiction around the country involved in that. One of the things I suppose that we've learned from our involvement the last 10 years is that while I'm an economist and statistician, the stats actually are irrelevant. I often tell people that I could talk about statistics until the cows come home, literally, but unfortunately that doesn't create engagement. But what does is the personal stories, because people put themselves into that circumstance. And that's enabled what we see as fairly substantial effect across, firstly, our nation. We've now got our National Road Safety Week. We actually have governments partner with us as opposed to the other way around. And that's become a really important strategy. As I say, we do some work internationally, and Safe Australian Roads and Highways as a very small organisation these days has a reasonably large footprint. So we've been fortunate in that at the level of both government and at the level of ministers and prime ministers and deputy premiers and premiers, we're able to have those conversations. And one of the things that I think we've been fortunate is that we've been able to have an influence on legislation, policy itself, and also things such as how we build our infrastructure. As I say, for me, it's quite strange because I actually started in civil engineering. And one of the very first courses I did at University of New South Wales was the trade-off between a human life and a road building project. And the thing I suppose has stuck out for the last 40 plus years that since I was at university was the fact that we actually write people off. We, at that point in time, were equating a dollar figure to write that person's life off, as opposed to saying that everyone's got a right to get home safe every day without exception. And I think that's been the powerful message that we've been able to align with. And the other part of that is to ensure that instead of the focus just being about the driver, because people will say my risk is always very low as an individual, so therefore I can do what I like. We've tried to turn that around to say, you are actually responsible for all those on the road ahead. You've got to ensure that everyone can get home safe to their loved ones every day without exception. So it's a different message. And I think that that's also been able to help the engagement that we've been able to get. The other thing that I think is very important is when we talk to governments and bureaucracies and ministers and in our case, premiers and prime ministers, you find out that in many cases, they've been very closely aligned with a person being seriously injured or unfortunately someone being killed on the roads. And I think if we can find them as advocates, and sometimes they will become advocates for little groups such as ourselves, then we've actually got a chance of being able to influence policy. Because at the end of the day, if we can influence policy, we will save lives and prevent serious injuries. So that's a little bit of a thumbnail of where we've come from and also the sort of work that we do. I'll just also say one of the things which has been wonderful for me is a person like Donna, who has been an extraordinary global leader. And I've been very fortunate to, as part of IRVP, to be amongst women who are extraordinary leaders across the world. So a lot of learning from my point of view. But I think what happens is that those individual stories, they're the things that will change hearts. We can try and change minds, but unless we change hearts, we will never succeed. So that's my what I believe is a really important aspect to trying to get engagement, especially with governments, to try and find those people who act as advocate at the level of bureaucracy and the level of ministers, because if we can do that, we've actually got a chance to make a change. All right, is there any questions now, or we could ask those a little bit later on if you like?
I guess if someone has a burning question or comment to Peter, we can entertain one or two now. I guess they want to wait till later, Peter.
All good.
Thank you again, Peter.
Not a problem.
If I'm not mistaken, it's Miss Yasmin next. Miss Yasmin, all the way from Miami. Welcome, Miss Yasmin.
Hi everyone, I am Yasmin Al-Mughrabi. I am the Global Youth Coalition for Road Safety. I am the regional youth leader for road safety in North America. I am from Lebanon and I did 2 master's degree, one in road safety management and the other in highway transportation and traffic engineering. And I am currently a PhD student in transportation engineering in Miami. We have always heard that the youth of today are the future of tomorrow. But what would the future look like if it was built on today's youth? At this moment, we remember the victims of road crashes. How many young people died in road crashes? As young road safety advocates, we are terrified of the fact that we lose thousands of young people off the world's roads every day. Road crash have been the biggest killer of young people for over a decade. This needs to change. Road traffic injuries and crashes are often viewed as accidents, moments of bad luck, or bad judgment, rather than the avoidable tragedies that they are. While education is an essential part of the safe system approach to ensure safe road users, it's clear that to protect youth and all people, it's crucial to ensure transport systems incorporate the necessary infrastructure design, law, regulations, enforcement, and post-crash care to prevent serious death and injuries on the world road. WHO and the United Nations Road Safety Collaboration encourage all road safety stakeholders to commemorate the World Day of Remembrance to remember those who died, support who survived, and act to save lives. Remember, support, act. And act means implement the Global Plan for the Decade of Action for Road Safety 2021-2030 and accelerate the achievement of the target to reduce road traffic deaths and injuries by 50% by 20%. It's clear that it's time for a new approach to developing and implementing road safety policies. If we want to see change in road crash statistics, youth leaders must be at the same table as policymakers. Today, we are calling for co-leadership of youth, as stated in the Global Plan for the second decade of action for road safety. We have finally recognized as key stakeholders in delivering road safety. This brings us so much hope. We aspire to be meaningfully engaged in shaping road safety policies and changing the stark reality we face on the road. As youth, we have our own needs, dreams, and demands that other key stakeholders in road safety are unaware of. We can speak to solutions based on lived experiences. We want to cycle, walk, and experience our cities without the risk of getting killed. Our realities are the lessons. Neither are young people included meaningfully in the design, implementation, or review of road safety action. We are not passive agents. Many young people have ideas on how to improve their communities for their peers. However, we are often seen as problem road users and blamed for their peers dying on the road. Instead of blaming youth for the burden of road traffic injury, work with youth to identify the challenges and opportunities to create safe, healthy, and sustainable climate-friendly streets and communities. Stop blaming us and start engaging us. This was our call elevated during the United Nations high-level meeting on road safety that took place last June 30, July 1st at the United Nations HQ in New York City. We held 3 specific actions here. Led an art exhibition featuring 6 different pieces inspired by the Gleaming Our Space campaign that is culmination of a year-long process of capturing the voice of young leaders around the world. Through this exhibition, we challenged the perception of problematic young road users. It's not our fault. We inherit an unsafe and non-sustainable mobility system, and we are willing to contribute to change that reality. Hosted a side event to launch a policymakers toolkit that lists guidelines on how and where to engage with young people on road safety, and participate in the HLM agenda as speakers and delegate. Meaningful youth participation is a key element for successful decision making, and engaging with youth is fundamental to ensure that bold and innovative solutions from our current and future problems get out of paper and become reality. Young people must also be at the table as designers of their own future, not as recipients of decisions of people who have, let's be honest, failed them in so many key respects. The question now is, are young people ready for this fruitful step? We are young people who are claiming our space at the decision-making table. Nothing about us without us. We are ready to take action. We are ready to partner and be a driving force. We are ready to unleash our boundless potential. And we started. This year, 70 local actions that have a contribution to the achievement of the Global Youth Statement for Road Safety and a clear connection with the Global Plan for the Decade of Action for Road Safety 2021-2030 are led and implemented by young people and focused on two or more of the three priorities: community mobilization and awareness, advocacy, peer-to-peer empowerment. This project have a direct link with the Sustainable Development Goals that have a direct link with road safety and sustainable mobility, such as climate action, gender equality, good health and well-being, sustainable cities and communities, and quality education. There are different levels of participation for youth. No participation, youth are able to actively decide whether or not they want to participate. Consultative participation, decision makers consult youth about their experiences and use this to design and implement policy. Collaborative participation, decision makers work with youth as partners to decide how to implement a program or policy. Youth-led participation, young people are given a space to create their own initiative and organization. Youth demanding participation, youth are actively claiming their space by putting their needs, idea, and perspective into the agenda through campaigns, community mobilization, unions, and protest. We must not use as decoration, such as in photo opportunity, to passively support adult initiative of policies and give the illusion that youth were involved. We believe that youth has an important role to play in shaping their future and contribute to the much needed change in road safety. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Yasmin. Can I ask a short question, Ms. Yasmin, if you don't mind?
Yes, of course.
I know I'm no longer included, but what is the definition of youth nowadays? Is it an age or is it a mindset? Tell me.
Okay, we can say that together, but but now if we want to say youth, youth will be related to age. But of course, even if someone in the life, in our daily life, even if someone are like adult, have more than 35, you have maybe the mindness of young.
Thank you. I just wanted to know what the youth is. Does anybody else have a comment or a question for Ms. Yasmin, please? If not, I thank you, Ms. Yasmin, for sharing your thoughts and your ideas with us. Oh, please. Go ahead, Dr. Ziad, go ahead.
I have a short comment. Congratulations, Yasmin. She was my student at Master's Road Safety Management at University of St. Joseph. We have in Lebanon a very important master degree for Pan-Arab students from different Arab countries. Yasmin was a brilliant student and she joined YASA and she volunteered with YASA. And now we are proud of her achievement in Miami and elsewhere. So congratulations, Yasmin, and hopefully we'll keep moving and putting road safety in the agenda. So on behalf of all our colleagues in the university and at YASA, congratulations for your effort.
Thank you, Dr. Ziad, and I really appreciate the effort and support of YASA. I started my journey of road safety by YASA, and it was like amazing experience. I get a lot of knowledge and opportunities.
Thank you, Dr. Ziad, and thank you, Ms. Yasmin. Now, without further ado, I'm going to turn over to Ms. Vivian, who is going to give us a story from a mother's standpoint, I believe. So please go ahead, Ms. Vivian.
Hello. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Well, thank you very much for this invitation. It's a pleasure to see all of you and to be able to share my experience just a week before the World Day of Remembrance for road traffic victims. I'm a member of Madres del Dolor in Argentina, that is where I live, and also of International Road Victims Partnership. I won't go into statistics because when you've lost a loved one in a road crash, you don't care about numbers or figures. All you want is to have your son, your daughter, your husband, your wife, your friend by your side. I always have Kevin's picture next to me, always, because that's why I'm here. If not, I wouldn't be here. After my son Kevin was killed here in Argentina, where I live, my family crumbled. A week before the oral trial, my husband also died of a heart attack. And I'm telling you this not for anybody to feel pity, but to show that all of it could have been avoided if the driver had respected the speed limit, the traffic light, and if he had stayed by Kevin's side to call the ambulance. We know that these crashes are not accidents. We know that the lives that are lost on roads can be saved. So then, why don't we save them? Each of us understands what has to be done. We're always talking about safe roads, safe cars, campaigns, education. Road laws should be respected, and if they aren't, there should be justice. But in many countries, the road pandemic continues taking many innocent lives. If I still raise my voice after having lost a son, it's because I have hope. I still believe that a change in road culture is possible if we have the will, the desire to produce these changes. Every day I wake up thinking of Kevin, and every night I go to sleep with his image present before me. This is why I know that our loved ones guide us to produce the changes that can avoid this pain for other families. We suffered the consequences of having roads or cars in bad conditions. Our loved ones didn't decide to lose their lives. That decision was made by someone who stepped on the accelerator, drank alcohol, and decided to drive anyway, or thought that he or she had the skill of using a phone while at the wheel, or even the control of his or her body that was suffering from fatigue. They made decisions. The victim suffered the consequences. Let's then unite and demand this change. Why should we just accept the loss? We have what we need for this change. We have it to be produced. But we also know that there are other interests that sometimes come even before life itself. Alcohol is sold next to highways. There is little or no enforcement in some cities, and there are even authorities. There was one that even said it to me. He said that a mayor of a city here in Argentina, he said that he believed that if they do control more, if there is more enforcement on streets, they bother the citizens of their communities, and that means losing votes, but it also means losing lives. Those of us that have lost a loved one in a road crash don't need a day to remember them. We never, ever stop having them very close to us. We remember with pain that terrible day, but are also grateful to the emergency services that are so important at that moment when someone is between life and death. As we know what this void feeling inside of us is like, we stand up and ask each and every one of our fellow citizens to respect each other. We should respect our lives, the lives of the member of our families, and of those that share the road with us. Only when we have learned to respect the law, to respect the value of life, only then will we stop losing so many lives. Most So again, I thank all of you for this opportunity to express my feelings here with all of you and my experience. And in honor of our loved ones, I ask all of us to respect the most valuable gift that God has given us, that is our life. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Vivian. Really, words of wisdom and sadly of experience also. Would anyone like to make a comment or ask a question to Ms. Vivian, please? Maybe none at this time, Ms. Vivian. Thank you again so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Ms. Donna from IRVP. I don't think she needs much of an introduction for any of us on this call. Please go ahead, Ms. Donna.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. And thank you for joining us here today. It's great to have all of our heads together to discuss such a very important topic. As you know, my name is Donna Price, and I'm speaking to you today as a bereaved mother and a founder and chair of the Irish Road Victims Association and the International Road Victims Partnership, which I co-chair with Vivian Perrone, who is here with us today, as are several of our other members, including Peter, Ziad, and Mona. My own 18-year-old son, Darren, was killed in a collision through no fault of his own in March 2006. Darren left our home in the Irish Midlands for college, where he was an engineering student, never to return. Losing a child has to be the worst thing that can happen to any parent, but to lose them where their death could and should have been prevented makes their sudden, violent death even more difficult to bear, if that's possible. It wasn't an incurable illness that had taken my son's life. Instead, he had been killed in this totally preventable crash. And as I said, that made his death much harder to accept. To make things even more difficult for bereaved families, we are thrown into dealing with the legal processes which follow such sudden and unnatural deaths. Processes we know little about, which we have not chosen for ourselves, and where there is little or no assistance provided for us. At a time when we are not only dealing with the sudden, shocking death of our loved ones, often our own child, we must also try to deal with the horrific aftermath. The family's shock and trauma, and an unexpected funeral of your child, the police investigation, the director of public prosecutions, any criminal or civil court cases, and finally, the coroner's inquest or public inquiry into our loved one's death. These legal processes often drag on over a very lengthy period, with behind-the-scenes deliberations being carried out into the circumstances surrounding the crash in which our loved one has been killed. A criminal justice process that we are not a party to and which keeps bereaved families very much on the periphery. This lack of information and support, and having to fight for every little piece of information of the circumstances surrounding the death of our loved ones, actually leads to victims being re-traumatized. It is cruel beyond words. The right to information and support in such harrowing circumstances, without undue delay, must be a basic human right. Collision investigation is key to both justice and prevention. If the police crash investigations fall short, everything else falls too. Families don't get the information and the justice that they rightly deserve, and our road safety efforts and any underpinning legislative reform that's required cannot be truly evidence-based. The required interventions to make our roads safer are also much more difficult to introduce, as they require prompt, comprehensive and accurate data from these investigations. Following my son Darren's death and the inquest into his death, which was held 6 years later in 2012, I founded IRVA, the Irish Road Victims Association, the national charity for road crash victims in Ireland. IRVA is primarily a victim support organisation, providing free bereavement counselling and legal advices to families affected, while also advocating for their rights. We support bereaved families as they deal with the horrific aftermath of their loved one's loss. We hold support group meetings, and we have a helpline which is open 7 days. For our bereaved families, justice may not mean lengthy prison sentences. Instead, it can mean lessons being learnt from our loved one's death or serious injury, and lessons must be learned so that we may spare the lives of others, maybe even your own life. We don't ever want your family to get that phone call or knock on the door to tell you that your loved one has been killed or seriously injured. And believe me, it can happen to anybody. On the third Sunday of November every year, bereaved families, the injured, and the emergency services travel to attend special events in commemoration of the UN World Day of Remembrance for victims of road trauma. These most poignant of events, which help to draw attention to the devastation caused, provide some solace and comfort to the bereaved and the injured. As we gather together with people who truly understand our loss, to remember and honour our departed loved ones, to support those affected, including the emergency services, and to call for action to try to spare others. Road victims NGOs from all regions of the world, many of which are victim-led, have been similarly set up to provide much needed support and information to this huge group of traumatised people, road traffic victims. These NGOs, members of the International Road Victims Partnership and the Global Alliance of NGOs for Road Safety, can get help to victims in all regions of the world, transcending language and other barriers, and they must be supported. As families bereaved in such utterly devastating circumstances, we never want victims, wherever they may be in the world, to feel isolated or alone in their grief as they attempt to pick up the pieces of their shattered lives. In the International Road Victims Partnership, which is now a partnership of some 160 NGOs from all regions of the world, we work to provide support for the unfortunate victims of road traffic collisions, and we advocate for their rights. But our focus is also on justice and improving the post-crash response. As members of the UN Road Safety Collaboration and the European Transport Safety Council, we work with all stakeholders to implement the UN Global Plan for the Decade of Action for Road Safety, which we all know aims to have deaths and serious injury by 50% over the next 80 years. And our NGOs have a very important role to play in that global plan. Some of you may know that the first ever high-level meeting on global road safety, convened by the President of the UN General Assembly, was held at the end of June this year in New York. I was there, as was Vivian, for this very important and historic meeting, together with other bereaved parents from all regions of the world. Indeed, we were very proud to place an engraved plaque and a beautiful bouquet of flowers in memory and honour of all of those who've been killed and seriously injured on the roads of the world and their bereaved families. This meeting of the UN General Assembly resulted in an agreed political declaration on improving global road safety. This much needed political declaration recognised that addressing road safety is primarily a responsibility of governments, but it also recognised the shared responsibility among relevant stakeholders, such as the public and private sectors, academia, professional organisations, non-governmental organisations, citizens, youth, and the media, if we are to move towards a world free from road traffic fatalities and serious injuries. It acknowledged the tremendous global burden that road traffic crashes continue to place on society, both in terms of human suffering, with nearly 1.3 million preventable deaths every year. That's 3,700 people every day, together with an estimated 50 million injuries. And it recognised this great human tragedy as an urgent public health and development priority. So our NGOs have a key role in delivering safer roads. Governments cannot achieve this alone. And whilst most efforts focus on preventing crashes, we all know that many fatal and serious injury collisions are not being prevented. The need for a proper post-crash response, which includes thorough investigations, appropriate prosecutions, fair compensation, and support for the victims of road crashes, which we have failed to prevent, is required. Victims' NGOs know this and will continue to work to raise awareness and investment in mitigating the impacts of crashes that are not avoided. And if we are to reach the ultimate target of 0 road deaths and serious injury, which is the only acceptable target for our families, knowing as we do the utter devastation caused by just one loss, then enforcement of our road traffic laws, the gathering and the preservation of evidence when the worst happens, and the timely sharing of data to assist in prevention, together with effective deterrents which deter law-breaking drivers, are all vital requirements. Together, we can and must act with a real sense of urgency to make Vision Zero a reality, remembering as we do that every life lost and injured on our roads is one too many. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Donna. That's not the first time I've heard you speak, and each time I hear you speak, I learn something new and has a more meaningful influence on me. Does anybody have any comments or questions for Ms. Donna? I think Dr. Rubin, you have a question?
Yes, I just want to congratulate you and the HIP program for an incredible, for me, the most moving virtual event that I have this year.
Dr. Rubin, your voice is not so clear. Is there something you do to tweak your voice?
About now, could you hear me?
It's almost like you've got an effect like you're Donald Duck. I'm sorry, but is there something on your mic?
It could be. Let me see here. I just want to congratulate all of you for this incredible, virtual event.
Sorry, Dr. Rafael, I suggest to ask him to just fix
Ruben,
it.
Could you fix your mic first? We'll have someone else fix your. Yep. Does anyone else have any other comment or question for Ms. Donna? Maybe Dr. Rubin can join us later once he fixes his mic up. If no one has any more comments or questions for Ms. Donna, well, thank you again, Ms. Donna. And I believe we're going to turn over to Mr. Bassam. Are you ready, Mr. Bassam? He's going to be launching a new video in commemoration of this year's World Day of Remembrance, if I'm not mistaken. Please take it away, Mr. Bassam.
Hi, I don't know if Bassam is ready. He got some technical problem. Just I would like to, I heard all presentation, and really we as YASA appreciate the effort of Ms. Donna. She's so dedicated, and thank you for your great presentation. And I have heard in Barcelona, Peter, from Australia, and I heard him today. Really appreciated your great presentation, and hopefully the International Road Victim Partnership that we as YASA, we are a member with them, with this organization. Hopefully it will be strengthened and enlarge its activities internationally. Is Bassam ready now, or we can? And also, I heard the Vivian presentation from Argentina, and really highly appreciated all your effort. And hopefully, we will be learning also by sharing other experiences. Now we are doing a multi-meeting with different parties, different NGOs, but I suggest it will be great if we can do also bilateral cooperation where we can go deeper between each of our organization in order to share practices and go in details how we can strengthen our experience between Canada, Lebanon, Ireland, Australia, Argentina, and elsewhere. We can do bilateral meetings between different members, for example, from Ireland, from the Irish organization, different members from YASA and Lebanon, or elsewhere. And I suggest that also bilateral cooperation with NGOs doing meetings like this will strengthen the efficiency of our NGOs in lobbying and advocacy and in raising awareness about the rights of road traffic victims. I think we have much to talk about today. Just it's a small intervention for every one of us, but definitely we can go deeper in sharing our experiences. Thank you.
Can you hear me, Rafi, now?
Yes, much better, Dr. Ruben. Please,
Okay,
while Mr. Bassam is getting ready, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I'm using my phone now. I tell you, I cannot have this opportunity to thank you and our leadership of our HIP program, just to put in probably for me the most emotive, lleno de sentimiento, virtual conference today. I just want to make Vivian laugh a little bit. And, and Dan and Vivian, this is amazing. And I would like to, with the permission of Rafi, to collaborate with my country. Unfortunately, my country by the World Bank has the worst road traffic injuries and lethality in the world right now with 65 per 100,000. So it would be an incredible thing if I can, you guys can help me to do something back to my country. And, with the Rafi, I've been bothering him for the last month or 2 months to do a series of, articles to target the government to do something more beside the public. And like Donna say, could you imagine it's a second hit or third hit when you have to go through the intrusive process of justice or semi-justice or pseudo-justice. You know what I mean? And then especially if you have other people involved, like celebrities. If there are celebrities involved, they can. It's really a difficult thing. I just seeing this on a regular basis. And may God bless you, all of you. And this is an incredible, a group of people that I think we can change the world with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ruben. Dr. Ruben is one of our more senior trauma surgeons, and he's also the head of the ICU fellowship we have here at the Hamad Trauma Center. He's from the Dominican Republic, just to give you an idea of where he's from. Can we turn over to Mr. Bassam now? Or Mr. Ziad? Would you like us to proceed with the program while he's fixing his technical issues?
If we can move forward and just we're trying to fix the technical issue. If we can get the next presenter. Maybe Mona is ready or someone else.
Actually, you're up next, Dr. Ziad.
Oh,
it's yours.
So let's give the floor to Mona. Let's give the floor to Mona.
Okay, Mona, please go ahead. Thank you.
I know it's afternoon for some of you. However, it's good morning for me. So good morning, everybody. I'm very happy to be on this webinar and seeing all those faces or warriors. I mean, the moms, the dads. Vivian I really appreciate your speech, Donna, as always, Peter, Yasmin. It's really amazing. I will start by briefly introducing myself. I was with the Lebanese Red Cross as an ambulance team. So I've witnessed lots on the roads in Lebanon. And then when I moved to the UK to do my master's in hospital management, I did witness how reckless people can be in consuming alcohol. And there is an incident that will never get off my mind when we had to respond to a young guy who was celebrating his 18th birthday and he had consumed 40 tequila shots. And we had to transport him by ambulance. It was really so bad how the concept in their head was. Thankfully, we did not have to go through a crash, but from the nightclub, we sent him off. So it's a culture that we have to address. It's how people think about consumption of alcohol or driving under the influence. And yes, I have also interviewed some parents, bereaved parents, and it was devastating doing this. And I think Donna and others might know her, Randa Haush. She's a very active member with us. So it is really devastating what the parents go through, what the families go through. And here at YASA, I've been with YASA for quite some time now, first in Lebanon and now in Canada. And we try to reach to the people to give a big shout about the burden of road traffic injuries. So this year, I mean, YASA in Canada has been doing so many activities. For us, the Remembrance for Road Victims has been interventions like presentations, holding masses, prayers. But this year we decided to do a different twist by requesting major landmarks around Canada for special lighting. So definitely everybody knows Niagara Falls, and we do know Niagara Falls, they have special lights going on. We were able to secure 15 minutes on the 20th, which is Sunday, which is amazing. It will be broadcasted on the web as well for whoever's not around. We have the CN Tower as well, the night of the 20th, all night on the clock, on the hour and the half hour. There would be links. I can share them as well with you. These are two major landmarks on the eastern side in Ontario. And then moving to more, because I'm based in Calgary, in Alberta, we have the Calgary Tower, which is a major a major landmark in Calgary. That will have special lighting on the 21st. And the TELUS Spark Museum, it's a science museum. It's on a major highway, very big. That would also display special lighting for us. And closing would be on November 25th in Edmonton. The main bridge leading into Edmonton will have special lighting. Why did we decide to do this? I think this would be a big shout for people to wonder why these have special colors and start the discussion and start the talk about road safety. We will be doing a press release and a conference with the police, whether Calgary Police and Edmonton Police, talking to the communities, addressing it over media and social media to reach a bigger number, to show the people that this is a global burden, that we're all responsible to take action to reduce those preventable innocent lives from leaving our families. I think this sums what we are doing in Canada. Is if there's any question, I'm ready to answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Muna. Does anybody have a question or a comment for what's going on in Canada or Ms. Muna?
I think we have a lot of comments, but we are waiting till the end because each presentation is unique in itself, and it can be a lot of positive comments, but we don't want to delay the process of presentation. We want to keep them, I want to keep them till the end, inshallah, of this presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Aisha. Dr. Ziad, are you ready right now?
Yes, regarding the song, it seems we are not able to publish it now. We will post it on our social media later on, and we can send you the links. So now we'll move Bassam Hatoum. He's a very well-known Lebanese singer. He will do a short intervention in Arabic, and I'll take care in translating it to English. Okay, so go on Bassam. تفضل Bassam, تفضل. تفضل بسام.
Bassam, you're on mute. بدك تدور الميكروفون.
بسام شيل الميوت بسام.
Unmuting. The multi control is mute. No choice.
الو.
اي تفضل بسام، هلا عم نسمعك، تفضل، ما كنا عم نسمع قبل. Now we can hear.
صباح الخير لكل المشاركين من كل الدول. معكم الفنان بسام حطوم من لبنان.
تفضل.
أنا إلي شرف أكون عضو ناشط باليازا، وكمان كان إلي الشرف المشاركة مع اليازا والدكتور زياد عقل بإنتاج عمل خاص توعية لحوادث السير بمناسبة الذكرى الأسبوع العالمي لليازا، توعية لضحايا حوادث السير بيحمل العنوان واجبنا نحمي الإنسان.
Let me translate بسام رح ترجم. Solar and she's trying the song. I can do what you have said and رح ترجم للإنجليزي. انطرني بسام شوي لو سمحت. Bassam is saying that he volunteered and he's an active volunteer in YASA, and he is trying to use the songs and his work to promote road traffic victims and to help YASA in sending the message to the Arabic listener everywhere in the Arab world. So now maybe if you're ready, Solar, to display it, go on. Otherwise, we'll tell Bassam to continue. If you're ready, you can start. If you can display the song. كمل بسام.
اوكي. انا بالتعاون مثل ما حكينا مع اليازا لبنان والدكتور زياد عقل مشكور على الفرصه، وعم نعمل برزنتيشن مثل لانش واجتماع ومحاضرات بالجامعات والمدارس اللبنانيه، وبنتمنى هالرساله تكون توعيه للشباب والصبايا ونخفف من حوادث السير. فكل واحد من موقعه. أنا ترجمتها بالمغنى، كانت من كلمات شاعرة فاتن الأحمدية وألحاني وإنتاج الBCH بالتعاون مع اليازا.
Thank you, Bassam. Shukran, Bassam. He's saying that he also is joining YASA in lectures. This last week, he was in many interviews showing the song and going to schools, to universities. He's volunteering in his time also in order to spread the message and discuss students about road victim rights and about road safety.
أنا بشكركم وبترك الدور لغيري، وبتمنى بالتعاون مع اليازا العالمية وانطلاقا من لبنان نقدم هذا العمل ويوصل لكل العالم ويكون توعية ويترجم لكل اللغات. ويسعد صباحكم والله يقويكم كل واحد من موقعه. وشكرا للشرف.
Thank you for saying. Okay, Bassam, thank you. If you can mute the micro, please. He said, thank you for all of you for this opportunity, and hopefully this song will be helpful in the Arabic world, and the artists everywhere can do something in promoting road safety victim. As you know, we lost a very known Arabic and Lebanese artist, George Rassi. He passed away in a tragic traffic crash in last August, and his fan everywhere are very sad. And, and artists and also part of the society, and they can also contribute by sending messages to their songs. Thank you, Bassam, on behalf. شكرا بسام. another micro, mute the micro. Okay. شكرا Bassam. Thank you on behalf of all of us. Okay. Thank you.
Do you want
Now,
me to try to share the song with you?
Soler also prepared. I don't know if the song is ready or we can move in the program. If you can share, Muna, go ahead. Or we can. Okay, no problem. Let's move in the agenda, Dr. Rafael. Muna, let's move. This will not be so clear. Let's move in the agenda. I suggest Dr. Rafael to move in the agenda. The message of Bassam was very clear, and I think that the loss of George Rassi in his he used to be YASA member also, and he did a song in 2007 called Antal Hub, and the song was very successful in the Arab world, and unfortunately we lost him in 2022 in August, and he was a unique artist in the Arab world supporting Gaza cause. Now he passed away. Hopefully the safety for our friend Bassam Hatoum, who also is a volunteer in Gaza and also is trying to send through the song road safety message and to support road traffic victims elsewhere in the Arab world. So let's move from this part, Dr. Rafael, because I think that we got a technical issue. Muna, if you can move this and we can go ahead in the program, I suggest, please.
Okay. Dr. Ziad, would you like to take a presentation first, or would you like me to go ahead?
Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Okay. Oh. I hope you can see that. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I can see.
Hello, everybody. So I didn't introduce myself earlier. I'm Dr. Rafi Konsuni. I'm a trauma and critical care surgeon. Been working in trauma for more than 25 years now. Working more actively as an injury prevention advocate, researcher, and practitioner for the last 10 years, probably. So on behalf of all of the members of the Hamad Trauma Center, all of the nurses, allied medical health personnel, as well as my fellow physicians who are trauma surgeons, intensivists, emergency medicine doctors, and some anesthetists as well, I'd like to thank you for the privilege of the floor today. And I just want to share with you some of the lessons that we've learned from the last decade that we've actually been commemorating the World of Remembrance. So I have no conflict of interest to declare, but I have to say that my interest is actually to save lives and to prevent injuries. And I'm very fortunate to work with a very, very dedicated team of professionals who really dedicated and committed to working to promote and let's make it far further and widespread injury prevention and safety here in Qatar. So these are the short objectives of what I want to share with you this afternoon. Through the course of in the context of some of the events that we've held in the past, I want to specifically focus on the lessons that we've learned for these 5 items now. Primarily how we've dealt with victims and their families, the partners we've reached out to, how we try very hard to align ourselves always with global themes and messages, some examples of how we use science and local data, and lastly, how we do publicity. And I'll give a little bit input also how unique our circumstances are here in Qatar. And hopefully these can engender and lead to some form of discussion among all of us later. So like everybody else has said, we have not held a World of Remembrance without a victim or a victim's family. We have always asked our victims to speak in a local language of which Arabic and English are the main, but we also have a lot of other nationalities here in Qatar. So they've all spoken in some of the local languages, and some of them have not been able to attend in person. They've gladly provided videos for all of us. The thing that I think is most compelling and most, let's call it meaningful, is when they speak live in front of an audience and nobody, and even though sometimes I do not speak that language, I can hear their message through the tone and their facial expressions. And it's an unmistakable message, really. And it really puts forth the whole idea of speaking on behalf of all of the victims of road traffic injuries on this World Day of Remembrance. So this is something that we find very important for all of the events that we've held in the last 10 years. The other thing also, and in alignment again with the UNR road safety collaboration, is we have recognized and we've always sought the help of the National Road Safety Committee, which is the national road safety agency that's been nominated or assigned by the government of the state of Qatar. Because we understand that by aligning ourselves with the National Road Safety Agency, we are able to gain more credibility, we're able to gain more coverage, and while they may not always augment your budget, they are able to provide us with manpower, provide us with a venue, provide us with a platform upon which to base our advocacy for the road safety victims, for the road victims. And also, in that same token, we always collaborate with the traffic directorate or the traffic police here. And we cannot, again, do anything without them. They are very powerful in terms of reach, in terms of voice, and in terms of credibility, and reaching out to within the higher levels of the government as well. This is an example, actually, of something that we always have also, we've had a guest from the Ministry of Interior so many times already. The good thing about the Ministry of Interior here is that they've got, other than the traffic directorate, they've got the awareness section, traffic awareness section, they've got a public relations section, and they got a community policing section. So through all of these other arms of theirs, we're able to reach the disparate and the different and unique, diverse populations we have here in Qatar. And that's why they're always on the top of our list when it comes to getting partners for anything that we do in terms of the World Day of Remembrance. We also work very closely with the Ministry of Transport, and by that same token, also with the Public Works Authority, or we call it Ashgal here, because anything to do with road engineering, school safety zones, and in basic, anything that has to do with any structural changes or environmental changes, engineering changes that are needed, we always involve them as well. And they have, again, graced all of our, if not most of our World Day of Remembrance activities. Now, this is an old slide from one of the earlier World Day of Remembrances that we commemorated here in Qatar. And back then, the Ministry of Public Health was still called the Supreme Council of Health. And they, again, have been very steadfast partners for everything that we do in terms of road safety, in terms of public awareness. And again, they bring a lot of credibility, and they're able to have a wider reach than we can as a part of the injury prevention program, the National Trauma Center. Now, bear in mind, when you talk about health, some people think you've got the Ministry of Health and that's enough. But I will echo what some previous speakers have said, that part of the World Day of Remembrance is actually commemorating and giving due credit to the emergency service. So we have engaged the ambulance service, the EMS here in Qatar, both from the bottom, where we have active paramedics come and speak on behalf of their colleagues, and also from the director level. So we've got, from the top to bottom, we've got engagement with our ambulance service colleagues. So that's just one aspect of the post-crash response that we see. The other important aspect of the post-crash response, because we literally sit beside them in the trauma room, are the emergency department physicians. And they have, again, come and helped us in terms of speaking on behalf of their teams and speaking on behalf of the victims also, because they see a fair number of them, because we only see really the severe injuries when it comes to trauma. Now, don't forget also that, like Ms. Donna said, there are 50 million injuries that happen that may be non-fatal. And we've got a very dedicated rehabilitation team here in Qatar as well, who take care of the disabled, bring them back to be useful members of society. And again, they have been very eager participants and partners when it comes to the World Day of Remembrance, because they themselves see the victims every day on a chronic basis, sometimes for years on end, in their quest to get them back to rehabilitated into daily life and daily activities. On the other side of the coin, we are also very ready. We have colleagues from the Qatar University Sense of Academics who always call us and say, could you add the medical or the health standpoint for our activities for the World Day of Remembrance? So we're very eager, and we're very, very able to provide support for them and provide the view from the trauma center when it comes to helping out for their activities, also for the World Day of Remembrance, in order to multiply and to sort of amplify the voices for the World Day of Remembrance. And like what has been said before, also we have been following and scribing and being parallel and aligned with all of the initiatives from the previous decade of Action for Road Safety and the new decade of Action for Road Safety. So we very much are collecting the two and looking at the World Day of Remembrance as one of the essential activities or essential things that have to be done as we propagate and we look toward not only reducing by 50%, but perhaps getting closer to Vision Zero when it comes to road safety. We cannot do anything without science also. We always refer to, and this is a slide from when we talked about how speeding kills, and there are very many good references out there, and this is just an example of something from the WHO, and it very clearly demonstrates that 50 kilometers per hour is about is like a 50-50 chance of your dying, and we always like to go back on the evidence, and this actually sells very well with our journalist colleagues here because they like to look at numbers sometimes. They like to look at the science and look at percentages. We also are very fortunate to work in a very mature academic environment in our hospital. So we have not only our own research from the trauma center, but we invite orthopedic surgeons and other colleagues who help us treat our patients to talk about their own research. So it's local, it's appropriate, and it's more relatable and more tangible for the audiences that we like to see. When it comes to publicity, here on the upper left-hand side, you can see Dr. Aisha being interviewed by Al Jazeera Arabic. This is actually a very busy day for us. We were having activities with the traffic department. Some of us were giving lectures at the Qatar University, and Dr. Aisha was at Al Jazeera Arabic. So that was, I think, in 2019 or 2018. And so we had really good coverage for the World Day of Remembrance that year. And of course, we always have a pre-packaged and ready press release. Every time that we have a World Day of Remembrance activity, on that same day itself, we're handing out the pre-packaged press release in order to help our journalist colleagues, make it easier for them to come out with nice, succinct summaries that are on point and do give the message that we really do intend to highlight based on the theme for that year, the World Day of Remembrance. Other examples are always looking for a nice visual as much as possible. Physicians in white coats, the traffic police in their uniforms, things that are very, very important when it comes to being able to provide good publicity for your World Day of Remembrance events. And then we also don't forget our own internal constituency. So this is an example because of COVID in 2021, I believe, this is last year, we could not have an event. So we talked to the administration of the Hamad Medical Corporation, and we made sure that we got upfront and center within the internal newsletter for the corporation and all of its employees. So we did not waste an opportunity. We still wanted to be able to push World Day of Remembrance, so we did it among our internal constituency because charity begins at home, and if you cannot see to the safety of your own employees, your colleagues, then maybe you're not doing a good enough job. So we said we do that in the light of what we call a crisis fund, people would say. So in case you didn't know it, in Chinese, actually, the word crisis can be interpreted in two ways. You can think of it as a danger, an obstacle, or an opportunity. So I think actually one thing that we've all learned from COVID, and this webinar is an example of such, I think we should learn more actually from the youth, Ms. Jasmine, how to optimize this challenge and actually make it an opportunity so we can have a broader reach, I think, and we're still trying to master this as we proceed. But I think this is very much, we should look at it as an opportunity, the fact that we can reach out to more people this way. And I'd like to you all to know that we are recording this webinar right now, where we'll distribute it to all of you. As we're done with it, we'll send it out so you can make use of it in any way that you can in order to further multiply the impact of this webinar if we can. And before I sign off for the afternoon, I'd like to thank all of our partners, everybody for taking part in this webinar. And I will turn it back to you again, Dr. Ziad, because let me just get out of this. 1 second. Thank you very much. If you have any questions or comments, I would love to hear them. I've learned a lot from all of you today, and hopefully we can have a fruitful discussion and a summary as we go along. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Raphael, for your intervention and dedication, and hopefully I can suggest in front of our colleagues worldwide, I suggest also maybe if we can do it this year, even if it is after the UN week, or next year we can do maybe 2 webinars, one in English like this one that we will share it, and why not doing another one in Arabic, where we can share it for people that can't communicate in English. So this is a suggestion where we can push our cooperation further, and I think we can translate from the presentation of the International Road Victim Partnership, because if we can use the English, we can reach many people, but if we can use both English and Arabic in 2 independent webinars, I think we can reach a larger scale. So this is a proposal in front of all our colleagues that you can study it. If you can do it this year, maybe after 20 November, like wrap up in Arabic about the United Nations Week, or if we can do it next year, where we can do one webinar in English and another one in Arabic, in order to get an outreach. Because, you know, one of the big challenges that we know in Arabic, especially in Lebanon and Syria, you know, YASA also was very active in Syria from 2001 till 2011, where the war created much problems in Syria. Road traffic victims also initiated YASA work in Syria. So we have been contacted once we have been going on Lebanese TVs. Many of parents and siblings of people who lost their relatives in Latakia in Syria and somewhere else communicated with YASA, and we have been able, through road victims, to do hundreds of activities in Syria and other countries. So I think this proposal, if you can consider it, it will be like creating something sustainable in Arabic language also. So take your time. We don't want a rush an answer, but this is a suggestion. Would like that you study it. If you want an answer, I am ready. What's your opinion about it?
I think it's a wonderful, wonderful idea, Dr. Ziad. And I'm going to work my hardest. As I told you from the beginning, I'm trying to get the WHO Eastern Mediterranean Regional Office to support our efforts, collaborate with us, because I think they'll be able to give us more inputs and more outreach, I think, into the region at least.
Yeah, I can tell you something about our experience with the WHO. The World Health Organization is one of the leaders now in road safety, but they were late in putting road safety on the international agenda. Road safety effort historically started in Europe and in the 70s. And the first time the United Nations and the WHO declared road safety on the international agenda was in 2004 on 7 April. And myself, I did my first thesis and master's in international affairs, that the United Nations must put road safety on the international agenda. They were late many decades, but better late than never, my friend. So they started road safety internationally in 2004, and this was under a motion by Sultanate of Oman, and YASA was working jointly with the government of Sultanate Oman by that time to push the first United Nations decision on a global level that put road safety agenda. And Donna and our colleague in the International Road Traffic Victims Organization know that the word road traffic victims was not put easily and quickly on the agenda of the United Nations. So we as civil society actors, we can be quicker, and hopefully we will be seeing the World Health Organization playing more and more role, not only in supporting road safety in low-income countries, but also advocating for road traffic victims. So, my friend, we have long experience with the World Health Organization. This is my personal opinion. I am not asking anyone to second this is even not the YASA opinion. My opinion, I think that civil society actor, we can be quicker. And I remember in many meetings, and the road traffic victims was not put on the agenda quickly. So we have to be patient, and we have to keep trying, my friend. My first one that I have done it, my first thesis was that they need to advocate internationally. And this should have been done in the 70s or 80s, and it started to be in 2004. So this is my experience, and I think Donna is more experienced with me about WHO. Now they are committed with road traffic victims, but this was not easy. I don't know, Donna, feel free to comment anything about this opinion. I'm very positive, but I tried to encourage my friend, Dr. Raphael from Qatar, to tell him, keep trying. So, Donna, I would like to take your opinion, if you don't mind, about my opinion here that I tried to say. Go on.
Yeah, we work very closely with the WHO, particularly as members of the UN Road Safety Collaboration. And within that collaboration, we have an advocacy group which works on the likes of the World Day of Remembrance and the UN Road Safety Week, developing the themes and the materials and all, for those occasions. And apart from that, I work very closely with Jonathan Passmore, who's the WHO lead in Europe, and he's very active. And I know he held a European commemoration last year for the World Day of Remembrance. And we've also commended the WHO, if you like, for taking on the global commemoration of the World Day of Remembrance, which they now hold every year as well. And that's a very, very strong message, I think, that's being sent out, because they're using, the likes of the head of the WHO, the UN Special Envoy, the president of the UNGA, maybe, to give their messages. So it lets the public know that road safety is high up there on the agenda, that we're not forgetting about all of these people who are losing their lives every day on the roads of the world. They're using it as an opportunity to highlight the devastation caused. So in sharing our testimonies, and I'll share my testimony this year, Peter shared his last year, Vivian the year before, I think people are aware then of the devastation that's being caused by road crashes. And I think, WHO are certainly on our side, and I'd encourage you to deal with the WHO lead in your area to try and have similar,
Maybe Donna, maybe you can help, but because in our area in the East Mediterranean, they are doing their best, but they are overwhelmed, and this issue, if we can put it higher on the agenda, it will be good. So maybe I know that what's going on in Europe. I think hopefully next year on the Eastern Mediterranean, the EMRO region also, road safety and road traffic victims will be put higher on the agenda. And just I want to extend my proposal that not only in Arabic, I mentioned Vivian to the Arabic just for our colleagues and friends in Qatar, but hopefully the advocacy to road traffic victims will be done at least in the 6 United Nations languages, and Spanish is one of them, because we need to reach most people. Definitely, I think a suggestion now that I can suggest it to the international road traffic victims, and I know Donna how much she's dedicated, and we worked with her on the Arabic version, and I know that she made also translation of many documents related to road traffic victims advocacy to Spanish and maybe French and maybe other UN languages. So definitely my proposal for the Arabic was going on specifically to our colleagues in Qatar, but it goes like one major recommendation to anyone participating now in the webinar, and maybe once we will try to circulate it, all of us in our channels, that using the 6 doing specified webinars in the 6 United Nations languages is something needed in order to reach a bigger number of audience in different countries. So this is our suggestion, not only to Donna, to all of you. And I think we as YASA will be dedicated to helping as much as possible in this aspect.
And I'd also encourage Dr. Raphael to to join the UN Road Safety Collaboration. You know, they welcome new members, and, you know, it'd be good to have somebody from your region if they're not already there, and particularly from the emergency services, you know, your trauma centre, for instance, that, you know, I feel that it strengthens your voice to be a part of such a collaboration. That's why the International Road Victims Partnership joined, to strengthen the voice of the victims, because we didn't have a strong victims voice at the table. Just as Yasmin mentioned, the youth, it's important to have those voices there and to have them heard. And the same, we would encourage you to join IRVP. We need, you know, more voices within the IRVP as well. And we would welcome you as members if you wanted to join us there. And as Ziad said, it's not me who translates all of these materials, it's our members. And together, you know, we can do that and strengthen our voice and transcend language and other barriers to get the message out there. And that's what we're all about. Because, you know, we've a wonderful webinar here today, but really we're talking to the converted. You know, we're talking to ourselves. Really, we should be, you know, speaking from the rooftops somewhere, invited, you know, to important places to portray our message. So that's why I think it is important that you would look into either joining yourself, the UN Road Safety Collaboration, or getting your government to join. And government bodies don't have to go through an application process, they're automatically accepted. So if you have a road safety body in Qatar or whatever, they can simply apply and be accepted. We had to go through the application process, and we were accepted. But I really feel that's a game changer. You know, it's an opportunity for your voices to be heard in your region.
Thank you for those suggestions. I believe Mr. Peter has his hand up. Mr. Peter?
Yeah. Oh, look, I just want to support what Donna was saying. One of the keys for us in Australia is our association also with trauma surgeons. And I was going to say that I think because they can speak with such authority when they're trying to treat the individuals who've been seriously injured and often in serious cases will die, I think it's incredibly important to have the surgeons involved, trauma surgeons involved. And also I'm unaware whether or not, and I assume there is some sort of global association of surgeons. If there is, it would be wonderful if we were able to also have them as part of that link. So that's just more of a suggestion than anything. So thanks for that.
I can't thank you all for the suggestions, but rest assured, Dr. Ruben, after you just spoke, is very high up in the European Society for Trauma and Emergency Surgery, as well as the Pan American Trauma Society. So I will pull him aside later on, if not later tomorrow, and make sure that we do get full representation and we do reach out to try out all of those suggestions you made. Ms. Donna, I think you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that the World Rescue Organization are members of the UN Road Safety Collaboration, and the International Association of Chiefs of Police have recently joined. So I think all we're missing are the surgeons, you know, the hospital sector. So yeah, just to look into that, and it would be good to have your voice.
Guilty as charged.
Donna, I have also another suggestion. And always I'm suggesting about, if you don't mind, about sustainability. We have now a small group that we have done. And I think that if any one of us will find an international opportunity where we can put our effort together, we'd like that to share it on this group. We don't want, my suggestion not to delete the group, to keep moving for next year. And if anyone find an opportunity where we can join our effort somewhere to keep moving in, because learning by sharing is very important, and this will empower our capability, and it will put road safety and road traffic victim advocacy higher on the agenda in our countries and in our regions. So this is also another suggestion that we are putting to all of you, if you don't mind.
I'd like to, other than thanking you, I'd like to actually now make an ask of you, because we do not have a road victims advocacy group in Qatar yet. So we're trying to find the right group of people to start such a group. And we've actually had some feelers from the Ministry of Public Health who say they want to start one as well. But of course, we'll have to find. So I'm going to warn you, we know where to find you now. So when the time comes, we will be consulting with all of you, if not most of you, to get some tips and help us along when we begin to form our own road victims advocacy group here in Qatar. Dr. Aisha wanted to add something.
Okay, I'm Dr. Aisha Abeid, Hamad Injury Prevention Assistant Director. I'm working with Dr. Rafi for the last 6 years, and it's a good opportunity for me today to learn from your experience, which is for us, this is the lacking circle, as if I started with what Dr. Rafi has ended by, the road safety advocacy. We here in Qatar, the government has done so. Most of the things are governmental. So at that level, we have a lot of improvement and getting to the international standard. But unfortunately, the key point which we believe, and personally I believe that the road safety advocacy, especially the victim's family role in this advocacy, which is the crucial rule, is missing. So we are not having the main driver or the main. I have attended an international road safety course in Baltimore 3 years ago, and it was all agreed that the main driver are the victims' families and the surgeons who treat these cases. When they talk, they are very credible person, and everyone. And I personally, I mean, when you were talking, I feel every word you were saying. I mean, whatever. I mean, I don't want to say like, I mean, lectures giving me from my side or from Dr. Rafi. These are if we give scientific lectures or numbers or whatever, all these facts, but not like the words which were said from heart, from you, especially victims' families. So we'd like to take your experience and how we can start this up. We started to push for that, but unfortunately, Corona has stopped all contacts and everything, you know, was online, and people get scared from each other, unfortunately, and all things like feedback, stop totally. So we'd love to now we have it like the starting point of myself, I'll call it a new era for road safety, that we can share and exchange experience and take, and also, as Dr. Ziad says, when he said, I was thinking the same, that we have this in Arabic or in even multi-language, and it's just translation. So we can have, and when we have local events, like what we have every year with the traffic department, we can have some of you as a guest, and we can have it translated. And in the same time, we try to have translators for the event in other languages. So this, we will work so hard to make this happen, inshallah. So make this word, because I have a medical background also, so I will give an medical example. Road crashes are pandemic. It's pandemic. It's not something related to this region or to America or Europe or anywhere in this globe. It's happening everywhere, and the pain and of suffering and losing someone is the same pain, the same, whatever your nationality, whatever your background, your culture, your race. The pain is the pain of losing, and we have to be unified, unify our all efforts to reach to reduce these injuries and this suffering, of course. So your experience is very valuable. All of the presenters today, as I said in the beginning, I cannot, if I say something, I would be missing something, other important thing. But I think we have recorded this, and the recording is a good opportunity. We can go through it, and we might summarize it and send the recommendations from this for this program and for this evening webinar, inshallah. So I'd like to ask if anyone has a comment before closing. Anyone, few, please, if you have question, if you want any clarification. And Dr. Rafi has said what we are doing here. We have a lot. Unfortunately, it's the #1 cause of death for youth here also. And we see a lot of suffering, I know personally many moms, they're like you, but they don't have the chance to talk. They don't have the chance because of cultural background, they feel shy. They don't come up front to talk about their suffering, unfortunately. And we want to help them to come up front, and because I believe personally, saving one life is saving all lives. And I give you back the floor, please, any comment.
Anyone with any closing comments or summary points that you'd like to raise before we close for the afternoon? Dr. Ziad, would you still like to give your experience from Lebanon, or do you think it's more fruitful to get our summaries? I'll leave it back to you.
Yeah. Just to finalize, myself, as I have told you, I teach in the masters that Yasmin joined, and many people from different Arab countries joined this master degree. It's a very important master degree in road safety management, and I think that we can help you a lot in Qatar. There are many students who came from all the region, but I think that no one joined from Qatar till now. So we'll discuss that later on, and I think that there are much effort needed to be done, and I think that we know Qatar very well. There are many Lebanese now working in Qatar, and we can suggest how we can empower road victim engagement in road safety. We'll discuss that later on. Hopefully, we'll keep moving. I know that the dedication of the parents and the friends and siblings who lost someone is very severe on all of them. And every one of us in different aspects is trying to turn these tragedies to something positive. And we as YASA will be glad to join our effort with any one of you and each one of you and all of us in continue this path of promoting road safety as much as possible anywhere on earth, and also in advocating for road traffic victims. So thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for being present, and hopefully, hand by hand, we can be much more successful in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ziad. Mr. Peter, would you like to give any final comments?
Sorry, I had myself.
I'm sorry for the ambush.
Look, I really appreciate the opportunity to again be able to speak amongst all the cultures, because as it's been said, the very thing that we're trying to reform is across every culture across the globe. And I think the ability to firstly share, and as has been said, also to ensure that we're not only just operating from, as we are, victims, but also from a basic evidence-based approach, so that when we're making suggestions through to bureaucracies and governments and the like, we've got best practice on our side. And as someone said earlier, we actually know what to do. We know what to do today. And what it is to ensure that everyone looks after each other on the road ahead. That's a cultural thing that applies across all cultures. I think this has been very valuable. The comment about ensuring that we have all the United Nations languages done when we're actually is incredibly important. I certainly know to IRVP, that's fundamental. And I think this is the start of some real change. And so I really appreciate being able to join with my IRVP colleagues and also to meet everyone online today. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Peter. Ms. Yasmin, would you like to give a final say from the youth?
Yeah, I want to thank you for this interesting webinar. It was really a pleasure and honor for me to represent the youth voice. And I am ready, of course, me or any other youth leader to support and help in any event or project in Qatar or even outside Qatar. And I don't know if they're like a youth leader in Qatar, but I will try to see, and maybe we can support you, of course.
Thank you. We would love that. Let us know if there's somebody we can contact for you. Ms.
Okay.
Vivian, want to give us final closing remarks?
Well, I'd like to thank you again. Thank you for inviting me. And I was just thinking that webinars like this one makes the world a lot smaller. Yes, we feel a lot closer to each other. It's true that we would like to be able to speak in all different languages to understand what all of us are saying. But, well, we're making a very big effort. And there are many organizations that maybe don't work in the same way everywhere. For example, I just wrote there in the chat that here in Latin America, we don't have the help of WHO, but we are together to point that out for them and to tell them, look, this is what we are doing, and we're expecting this of you. And if you're doing this somewhere else, why don't you do it here? So that's why these webinars are so important, to know what is happening in the rest of the world. So thank you again, and you can always count on me for whatever you need, for whatever you want, through Donna, or now that we're all connected, and within IRVP, you can count on our work. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias, Ms. Vivian. What about Ms. Mona? Anything parting wise thoughts from Ms. Mona in Calgary, please?
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. It was great seeing everybody and hearing everybody's testimonies. And yes, as YASA, we do confirm we will always be next to victim organizations, and we will always be fighting towards better road safety all across the globe. And yes, I do agree WHO has to have a better role in all parts of the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mona. And I'll turn over last to Ms. Donna. Ms. Donna, close the webinar, please, for us.
I'd just like to say that, as bereaved parents, I suppose what prompted us to get involved in this work wasn't so much the death of our child. It was more so our treatment afterwards, the re-traumatization in having to fight for information of the circumstances surrounding the death of your loved one, and for any semblance of justice for their loss. And that was it was soul destroying. So as Dr. Aisha pointed out there, the fact that there is no advocacy for road victims in Qatar, I would hope that you might be able to encourage them to get in touch with IRVP, because just speaking to other bereaved families can help. Because I know for me, the worst feeling was the feeling of isolation and being alone, and there was no support available for me back in 2006 here in Ireland. And even my own family didn't understand. Life goes on for everybody else, but you're stuck in dealing with that whole process. And it can be deeply traumatic. So if there are any families you're aware of, do put them in touch with us, and we will try our best to help them. Sometimes all it needs is a listening ear, to speak to somebody who truly understands what it is that you're going through. And we will help in any way we can, in trying to get that support to them. I can understand that it's so hard to speak out, when you're deeply traumatized and you're grieving the loss of your loved one. But maybe we can encourage people to speak out in your country, including the injured, the seriously injured as well, because it is important to have their voice. And you don't need any money. We're all volunteers in the International Road Victims Partnership. We're purely doing this work because we're passionate about it. We want to prevent our pain being visited upon other families. So even speaking to somebody is helping. And, to us, if we help one person, it's enough. And that's why we continue to do the work that we're doing. So it is wonderful to be part of your webinar today, to hear about all of your work. And I really hope that we can continue to work together going forward, as Dr. Ziad has said. We've worked with Dr. Ziad closely over the years, and it will be wonderful to expand that group. Even though we're taking on more work and we're inundated at the moment, we really are fighting for time, to be involved in everything. But we do our best to continue to fight for the rights of road traffic victims and to improve things there and justice for our families. So thank you very much for inviting us.
On behalf of my colleagues, Dr. Aisha and Ms. Soler, who worked tirelessly to get this webinar set up, the entire team here at the Hamad Trauma Center, my colleagues also in the Hamad Injury Prevention Program, I thank all of you for what you do on a daily basis and for helping improve our knowledge and our wisdom today at this webinar. And I know you can't hide from us anymore. We're going to find you. If we need you, we will shamelessly hit you up for advice and information and wisdom. So watch out. We'll get in touch with you. We'll provide a summary, and we'll provide you all with a recording of this webinar. I hope you have all a good day. And Mr. Peter, especially you, time for bed. Good night. Enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you so much. Dr.
Thanks very much.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Adios.